watching Now Media Television.
Broadcasting from Now Media Network's headquarters in Houston, this is Purple Politics, hosted by political expert and commentator Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Join us to discuss the most important issues affecting our nation with fresh, balanced, and objective discussion on the first bilingual media network in the United States. Purple Politics starts right now.
Hello and welcome to my viewers, and for those that like Spanish, bienvenidos. It is that time of the week for Purple Politics, and I am your hostess, Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. I am especially excited for today's segment. I will be joined by entrepreneur and successful businesswoman Rachel Weaver, mother of two, as we discuss whether the woke agenda is real or not within our elementary school systems. During this campaign, we have had Governor DeSantis leading the charge based on his ability to enact legislation that eliminates or strictly confines the woke agenda within our elementary school education. And we're going to be going further into detail as to how this woke agenda has been infiltrating our Department of State nationally and how that has been affecting our relations across our borders to other sovereign nations. And we're also going to start this show, though, here locally in Texas, our Lone Star State, where beginning this Tuesday, Attorney General Ken Paxton, the third highest ranking officer, elected official of Texas, will be undergoing an impeachment trial. The House of Representatives overwhelmingly voted to impeach Attorney General Paxton back in May of this year. Since this impeachment, he has been put on suspension for acting on his duties. So you ask yourself, how is it that an attorney general that is a constitutional officer, a God-fearing Christian leader, is facing impeachment? Well, he had 8 former employees that brought allegations that they were terminated based on whistleblowing violations. And because he settled that, or attempted, I should say, to settle that matter with 4 of those 8 whistleblowers and asked the state to pay the $3.3 million settlement, that prompted the House to launch an investigation. And in that investigation, 20 articles of impeachment were found and voted on. Of the main impeachment articles, we have obstruction of justice, abuse of office, bribery, and again, the whistleblower retributions. Now, this also brings forward more issues than just accepting bribes or the allegations of accepting bribes and abusing his office to protect his longtime friend and political backer, Mr. Paxton. However, this also causes an issue of whether or not General Attorney Paxton's wife, Angela Paxton, a sitting senator for the state of Texas, will be recusing herself from the vote when it comes time for this trial. So I kind of jump ahead. So for the first time in Texas history, we have an attorney general who has been impeached. In that vote of the Texas House, an overwhelming Republican-led Texas House voted 121 to 23 on these 20 articles of impeachment. This controversy involving Ken Paxton began back in 2020. Several high-ranking deputy attorney generals accused Paxson by directing his office to take unusual and potentially illegal actions to help Austin real estate investor Nate Paul, who at that time was under federal investigation for fraud. These allegations of obstruction of justice, abuse of office, and bribery directly correlates to Paxton's office making opinions to save Paul's real estate holdings from foreclosure, to include assigning and hiring an outside attorney as special counsel without going through the proper channels of hiring a special counsel, to open grand jury investigations that were tipped in the favor of Nate Paul. Paxson is also alleged to have used his possession to influence legal opinions, garnering reports on open criminal investigations, as well as unredacted FBI reports, and providing those to Mr. Paul for his defense in his fraud cases. The whistleblowers and investigators have also alleged that Nate Paul had made political donations to Paxton's campaign and his PAC associated with the law firm representing Paul in his legal fight with the Mite Foundation. These allegations that were brought forward by brave attorneys working for Attorney General Paxton is what prompted all this. So it begs the question, how much oversight should there be in the Attorney General's office? When can allegations that are brought forward by whistleblowers, by brave men and women, saying we find that these actions by our boss is against the Constitution, is violating the laws of Texas, and they go forward to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate this, and how by entering into a potential settlement to prevent any discovery, any trial basis, how does that prevent, or if you will, steal the option away from the very public that he is meant to serve, have full knowledge of what is going on behind the scenes of the Attorney General's office? And interestingly enough, Attorney General Paxton ran in 2020 as a staunch conservative warrior, very, in the throes of what is the Christian rights agenda. Do what's right by God, by the Bible, and by the commandments. And what seems to be really now having a major focus, at least in the opinion of the people, or the trial of the public opinion, is his marital affair, because that is also a part of this impeachment. Yes, he was caught and was found to be placing his seed in another woman's garden that was not his wife's. However, because it is a major position as far as his accepting bribes, because it is alleged that Nate Paul provided free renovations to Attorney General Paxton's home and also hired his mistress. So this is all that is playing out now in the Capitol, and it should be a very interesting time to watch, to see whether our constitutional officers, whether our elected officials will go forward and, rather than vote on party line, rather than stick to what the leadership says, will actually look at all of the facts, look at all of the evidence, weighing that and making a determination whether or not this elected official violated the very trust of the people that put him in this office and violated his oath of office. This also brings an interesting question to what is happening on the national level. Because here we are hearing rumblings from House Speaker of Congress McCarthy, stating that they are looking at possible impeachment of President Biden and the allegations of accepting bribes and abuse of office when he was vice president. So this does segue into the national in a way, in that will our elected officials put aside their political leanings or what the leadership wants and truly do what is right by the Constitution, do right by its constituents, and say we are actually going to launch a proper investigation, and from that investigation we are going to proceed forward based on the Constitution, not because of a politicized agenda. Look into whether impeachment is proper for our own sitting president. As I will be one of the first people to tell you that I feel that sometimes this impeachment, or not sometimes, it was the impeachment process that occurred during Trump's administration was definitely politicized. It was strictly just to try to obstruct a duly elected president from being able to do his duty and go forward with what his promises were to his electorate and to the citizenship of the United States. So we'll be continuing to watch both on the Texas level what is occurring with this senatorial trials, but also on a bigger view as to all of these scandals, all of these allegations, whether what should be right, what is deemed of our elected officials to go by the law, to go by the Constitution, and to go forward and be blind, as justice is supposed to be blind to what the leadership wants, and truly bring forward what is in the best interest of these people, and to bring to justice to those that abuse their authority. These are just some of the things that I have been following, and I hope you enjoyed this segment. We are now going to take a break for a commercial break, and we will be coming back to discuss the woke ideology agenda and how that is affecting international and national issues. This is Alina Gonzalez-Dockery, and I look forward to seeing you in our next segment.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Hello, my name is Charles Sanders, and I'm a personal injury attorney with the Rose Sanders Law Firm, based in Texas and with offices in Houston, Dallas, McAllen, and El Paso. We assist individuals throughout the entire state who have suffered harm due to the negligence of another person. With my experience as an insurance adjuster, I understand and I know exactly how to counter the strategies employed by insurance companies, and I'm bringing this knowledge to you. We handle a wide variety of situations ranging from car accidents to defamation and unsafe property conditions. We are here to provide support and legal representation at no cost to you. Call us today at 713-221-3773.
¿Sabes cuáles son los beneficios de tener una póliza de vida en los Estados Unidos? ¿Sabías que la póliza más solicitada es aquella que te da dinero en vida en caso de una enfermedad terminal, crónica, crítica o Alzheimer? ¿Está tu familia preparada para prescindir de tu apoyo y los ingresos económicos que aportas? Si estás pensando en adquirir una póliza de vida, estoy segura que te gustaría conocer todos los beneficios que esto conlleva. Un seguro de vida es esencial para garantizar el futuro financiero tuyo y de tus seres queridos. Es imprescindible que tu póliza cuente con la cobertura adecuada para tus necesidades presentes y futuras. Como experta en seguros de vida, mi pasión es asesorarte para que tomes la mejor decisión, para que tú y tu familia estén protegidos para cualquier eventualidad en la vida. Toma la decisión adecuada y protege lo que más importa, tus seres queridos. Entre tú y yo podemos construir el plan más adecuado a tus necesidades. Llama hoy para una consulta gratis y personalizada al 832-620-3001.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Welcome back to Purple Politics, and we are going to discuss wokeness. I personally don't really know what woke all encompasses, but I do notice one thing, that there is a very small minority pushing an agenda, and how is it affecting not only nationally our relationships with foreign countries, but also internally what's happening within the campaigns. This is where we're going to be fleshing it out a little more. But first, let's discuss how our diplomatic sections, our ambassadors, our Department of State is forcing the issue of LGBTQ identity, trans rights onto other sovereign nations when it specifically is against either their religion, such as Kuwait and Muslims, or against the laws and not respecting these sovereign nations. So let me backtrack. From Real Clear Investigations, published an amazing article August 29th of Woke Diplomacy is Not America's Most Popular Export. At one time, our nation was seen as a leader as in for economics, definitely for security. But now we're becoming a leader of wokeness, and it is not being welcomed graciously. The Biden administration's approach to promoting this woke ideology on the international stage is creating a huge criticism and potential backlash against our very own interests with our allies. The administration's push to advance LGBT rights and other progressive values abroad, outlined in national security memorandums, has translated into actions by U.S. ambassadors worldwide. For instance, promoting gay pride events, paying $10,000 towards as grants to videos and movies, promoting even pedophilia possibly. This is starting to turn into a serious issue in diplomatic relations, not because we are anti-trans or anti-gay. Please do not paint that on me. What it is the true issue here is, how is our administration trying to force an ideological movement, which is not commonly accepted within our own boundaries, forcing it onto other nations? Isn't one of the things that we say is don't tread on me, which means we are a sovereign nation, do not enforce your communistic values on us or try to push your values onto the U.S. Well, isn't the same to be said about the U.S.? The controversy is extending beyond the LGBT rights. It's encompassing broader diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Critics are asking serious questions of why are taxpayer funds being utilized to promote these woke cultural Marxist ideology in other countries? And also how these very same funds, rather than being used to, I don't know, help those that were homes were destroyed in Maui, or just recently, those that are severely affected by Hurricane Idalia here in Florida and South Carolina and Georgia. But we are pushing a Marxist ideological views, eroding the very mores of family values, eroding the rights of parents, but more importantly, pushing and eroding our relationships with foreign allies that are much needed today, especially in the Middle East, where relations can be very tenuous. I mean, to have the Prime Minister of Hungary iterate that what's good for the U.S. is good for the U.S., but don't push that on us. These are some of the issues that we are now starting to face, which then goes into how much is anti-woke a major effect on our current Republican primary elections or campaigning. As what we're seeing is, at least in the Republican realm, that the anti-woke against corporations, more on this, not necessarily the social agenda, but more on the environment and other greater like good, is not as serious of an issue, or it's starting to wane. So what we're finding is Republican candidates such as Ron DeSantis, who was fervently an anti-woke governor, especially going out there on his virtue tour prior to running for president, or let's say even Vivek Ramaswamy, another presidential candidate who is full on saying this woke ideology must stop. But is this something that is really concerning the average American? The average Republican does not like to see more regulations on businesses. However, they also do not want the government's nose in their private business. Where is that balance? So as we're seeing the movement against woke corporate practices, particularly in the context of environmental, social, and government investment, starting to wane among the Republican primary voters, it's still an effective issue that banks and corporations are still dealing with. Let's face it, Bud Light is taking the biggest toll on the anti-woke movement. For those that like to say the silent majority is speaking with their dollars, yes, there is that silent majority. But however, how is that affecting the polls for the upcoming primaries? And also, are these candidates now softening, if you will, their message of anti-wokeness and replacing it with other words like parental rights and education? These are some of the issues that are starting to really crop up, or I should say, diminish. See, we have a very interesting election process occurring right now where we have former President Donald Trump, who is still exceeding the polls. He's still very far out there. However, there are some gains being made, whether it's net gains or actual gains by both DeSantis and Vivek, but also some of the lesser knowns like Nikki Haley made some gains on the popularity polls. But what it's going to come down to is who is going to be able to reach the centrist Republicans, those that are traditional Republicans. We're talking Reagan Republicans, and the never Trumpsters. And that is what's occurring right now. So as we see parents still battling out a woke agenda being pushed in school educational itineraries, or what's perceived as anti-trans because women are standing up for their daughters, so that women's sports and Title IX privileges be still there for the biological female, when the definition of what is a woman is still being determined, or in fact, as one judge in Wyoming stated that he could not define what a woman was, when sorority sisters of Kappa Kappa Gamma brought a lawsuit because they felt that they were not safe, that their rights were being infringed on because a trans female was admitted into the sorority and allowed to live within the house. This is a biological male identifying as a female and has exhibited aroused behaviors. Can we say pump tent? And these girls have basically stated, we are unsafe. We feel like our safe spaces are being violated, but yet that is not able to be determined. So, as you can tell, I can get fired up on certain issues. Absolutely. Love is love. I personally have no issues. If you want to identify as a female, if you want to identify as a male, I will be there by your side. I will fight for your rights to do so. However, when it comes down to any ideology, whether it is Tea Party, very right-wing, Christian coalition type of, rhetoric versus this very Marxist rhetoric or woke rhetoric being pushed down the throats of our families, of ourselves, and our allies, that's when we need to take a serious step back and say, well, wait a minute. Let's bring common sense back into this. What is our government supposed to be doing? What is our president supposed to be pushing? What are the representatives supposed to be conducting? What are these ambassadors' relationships? How are they proceeding forward? We currently are in, I would say, a crisis of identity, and not to be saying that identity politics is what should be going through. It is more of a crisis that we are now starting to talk about nuclear war again. When others thought once the fall of the Communist Party and the Berlin Wall coming down, we put that to bed. We are having an issue globally as to this woke identity politics and agenda versus a global sovereign nation nationalistic identity. And I find that this is going to be something that will be playing out more so as we go forward. And that is my time on this segment. We're going to break for a commercial, and thank you so much. And I look to seeing you back when we return.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Hello, my name is Charles Sanders, and I'm a personal injury attorney with the Rose Sanders Law Firm, based in Texas and with offices in Houston, Dallas, McAllen, and El Paso. We assist individuals throughout the entire state who have suffered harm due to the negligence of another person. With my experience as an insurance adjuster, I understand and I know exactly how to counter the strategies employed by insurance companies, and I'm bringing this knowledge to you. We handle a wide variety of situations, ranging from car accidents to defamation and unsafe property conditions. We are here to provide support and legal representation at no cost to you. Call us today at 713-221-3773.
¿Sabes cuáles son los beneficios de tener una póliza de vida en los Estados Unidos? ¿Sabías que la póliza más solicitada es aquella que te da dinero en vida en caso de una enfermedad terminal, crónica, crítica o Alzheimer? ¿Está tu familia preparada para prescindir de tu apoyo y los ingresos económicos que aportas? Si estás pensando en adquirir una póliza de vida, estoy segura que te gustaría conocer todos los beneficios que esto conlleva. Un seguro de vida es esencial para garantizar el futuro financiero tuyo y de tus seres queridos. Es imprescindible que tu póliza cuente con la cobertura adecuada para tus necesidades presentes y futuras. Como experta en seguros de vida, mi pasión es asesorarte para que tomes la mejor decisión, para que tú y tu familia estén protegidos para cualquier eventualidad en la vida. Toma la decisión adecuada y protege lo que más importa, tus seres queridos. Entre tú y yo podemos construir el plan más adecuado a tus necesidades. Llama hoy para una consulta gratis y personalizada al 832-620-3001.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Welcome back to Purple Politics, and I am excited. I am joined by CEO of Level Up Your Biz, Rachel Weaver. Rachel, thank you for being a part of Purple Politics, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Alina. I'm super excited to be here with you today.
So I have to give our viewers a brief background on how we know each other. So I have been blessed to know Rachel since 2020. However, our relationship started because during COVID and lockdowns, those lovely pesky lockdowns that we had, we met via online because we were both part of the same group. And that's how our friendship started, and it continues today. And I always say, Rachel, you are the greatest thing that came out of COVID for me. So. But today we're not talking about friendships or about COVID. We are talking about woke ideology, its agenda, and how it's affecting our school children's education. I know that you have a vast background in dealing with international schools as well as our local schools there in Pittsburgh, and that you are a mother of two. But Rachel, please provide my viewers a little brief background about your family and your experiences in all things that seem woke.
Oh, thank you so much, Alina. I'm so happy to be here with you today and talk about this tough subject. Because truly, I don't think we're bringing enough awareness to the underlying issues that are happening around the globe, really. I do have experience. I've lived all over the country and I've lived abroad. I've lived in Europe and Asia. And I have taken children with me all over the country and into Europe and Asia. In fact, my kids are more worldly than most adults leave this planet. So I feel very grateful and blessed. And I do have a very wide and open perspective when it comes to education and cultural differences and seeing different perspectives and point of view. However, I think we're facing a really big problem in today's society within this country, especially because we are losing control of our parental rights as to what our children at elementary age are exposed to.
Well, and I love that you stated that it's your parental rights, because as an attorney, I have defended parents' rights to their children to be able to raise them accordingly and such. And in my perspective, it seems like there is a definite attack on the parental rights to be involved and engaged in a child's education. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that school officials were bemoaning the fact that parents were not involved enough and they were treating schools as babysitting or daycare services. And again, another blessing of COVID was because of the school shutdowns in many states. I'm in Florida, we were open. Parents got a big time view into what was being taught. And what is being taught is not assisting in the acceleration of our children to be competitive on the world global field. And, you know, I know that you recently moved to Pittsburgh and dealing with those schools. I would love to hear what your personal experiences were when enrolling your children into the local school system.
So it was not an easy decision for me, because when I moved to Pittsburgh, I didn't know a whole lot about the area other than they were supposedly very, very good schools. And I am going to say that I think their education so far has been great at the school I've chosen. But they are very highly ranked in their education system amongst the ratings, which we all know has a lot to do with the testing that our children are put through. Mm-hmm. But really and truly, it's not so much even the testing that I want to talk about today. It's more what's happening within the schools. So I do like to become involved and educated on what my children are going to experience in the schools. I have 2 kids that have lived around the world, and so I want to make sure that they're going to feel comfortable, even if it's a public school, when they step foot in the school. And so throughout the process of deciding where do I want to live in Pittsburgh, I kept my children in online private school so that they could continue their online education and receive the excellent academics that they deserve, while I chose which school system to buy a house in. And throughout that time, I became heavily involved in volunteering and doing different things in different school organizations and school districts in the local area. And I was shocked to see a lot of things that are happening in these particular schools, and talking to different parents and attending local board meetings where parents are stressing their concerns of library books, children being exposed in elementary school to the different, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this, but transgender, confusion in children, educating our kids on all of the different things that are out there. And forgive me for saying this, but I am completely against that, because we are instilling confusion into our children. I'm a huge neuroscience person. I am also huge into self-development and resiliency in children. And I have developed a course called Emotional Nutrition for Kids, and it's a personal development course. I think that we are instilling things into our children and persuading them to feel a certain way and confusing them, which is creating more mental health challenges in children as early as elementary age.
Well, and I can see that. Like here in Florida, our legislature with on the forefront of that fight was Governor DeSantis. Love him or hate him, he did a lot of great things for Florida, but he took that issue and he really took up the fight that the parents should be actively involved, also be encouraged and have the right to be involved in their children's, especially for kids as young as kindergartners to 4th grade. We're talking 5, 6 years old to 9, 10-year-olds. I mean, back in my day, I guess I should say, we didn't learn about the birds and the bees or anything like that until 5th grade. And that is because generally that was when little girls were starting to go through their little change, and boys as well. The focus was reading, arithmetic, writing, core STEM education. And that's how it should be. I mean, at least for myself, as an outsider looking in, if you will, the focus seems to be such on this sexual identification, and that people are so offended. Why? I mean, I joke. I say I have the most modern family that show Modern Family has nothing on mine, So, I mean, I am absolutely a supporter, and nobody is saying you shouldn't be loving parents and accepting of whether it's, like my sister, a mom and a dad, the traditional 3 kids, white fence family, or like my brother's family, which is 2 gay partners who are fathers to 2 beautiful girls and their lesbian mothers, but it's supporting that. But you know what? Bottom line is not to enforce their ideology or enforce their social thinking on these young, impressionable minds, when realistically these kids don't even know really, other than, yes, I'm a boy, yes, you're a girl. That's it. Just leave it at be. At least that's my opinion. And I would love to hear how it affected you to see what occurred in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, when parents were, vilified for coming forward at a school board. The fact that you as a parent are seen as a domestic terrorist. How do you feel that your own government is putting a big T on you? Mm-hmm. The scarlet T for, wow, you want to know about your kids' education.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a shame. And look, I will be the first to admit I have people who, in my own family, and when I got married, I had a gay man stand up for me in my wedding, so there is absolutely, I completely agree with love is love. But I disagree with confusing these children at an elementary age. No matter what you believe in, God created boys and he created girls, or the universe created. Whatever you want to believe in is totally fine. But even if you want to bring science into it, that's what was created from the beginning, right? And so I think it is so astounding and upsetting to hear about and watch on TV what happened in Philadelphia when Moms of Liberty went to stand up for the place that we started our liberation, this place that we founded liberty in Philadelphia. That is why they started there. That is why they had this big meeting there. And to have people protesting against them, calling them racist, calling them fascist, and really and truly all they want to do is have control over our children. They're fighting for their rights as parents to say, look, I don't want in the school library my children to be taught about all these different names and sexualities at an elementary age, which is confusing my children. Having the gay pride parade and the rainbows everywhere in elementary school, marching, all it's doing is making these kids feel as though, wait a minute, I must be different if I think in 5th grade I'm a girl and that boy is cute. What is wrong with me? Mm-hmm. We are confusing children. Should I be feeling like I should be looking like a boy instead of a girl? we are truly instilling some mental health challenges into our children, because as adults, we can't agree to disagree. We can't agree that the parents should be the ones in charge of our children's education. And if you want to talk to your kids about something like transgender and things like that, that's your job to do at home. And that is what these women are standing for, or these parents are standing for. It has nothing to do with saying, you know, you're wrong, but it has everything to do with, I want to take back the rights of me as a parent and instill my beliefs, my morals, and my principles into my children. And I want to send my kids to school for education. Yes, I believe that mental health should also be started at a very early age of children.
Okay. At this time, I have to take a commercial break, but Rachel will be back with us. And we're going to continue this conversation because you pointed out some important issues that I would like to further dive into. But for our viewers, please enjoy this commercial break, and we'll see you back real soon.
Hello, my name is Charles Sanders, and I'm a personal injury attorney with the Rose Sanders Law Firm, based in Texas and with offices in Houston, Dallas, McAllen, and El Paso. We assist individuals throughout the entire state who have suffered harm due to the negligence of another person. With my experience as an insurance adjuster, I understand and I know exactly how to counter the strategies employed by insurance companies, and I'm bringing this knowledge to you. We handle a wide variety of situations ranging from car accidents to defamation and unsafe property conditions. We are here to provide support and legal representation at no cost to you. Call us today at 713-221-3773.
Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed or burnt out with no energy left for what's most important to you? In order to effectively run your business and maximize your profits, you have got to be the best possible you that you can be. Now is the time to reclaim your energy, master your schedule, and maximize your profits so you can effectively run your business rather than it running you. It's time to become the CEO of your business and life. I'm Jen Godet, a business strategist and life coach. I work with overwhelmed business owners who feel stuck in a rut and depleted. I teach you how to stop doing the things that aren't making you money and start prioritizing the things that bring you energy, joy, and lasting impact. I'm a human performance specialist and an international best-selling author. I've helped countless people all over the world to learn the art of saying no, overcome their fear, and maximize their performance. Let's get you to live your best possible reality. Start today and become the CEO of your business and your life.
Welcome back. And as promised, Rachel is still here with us. We really dove into some emotional, but also rational issues, because ultimately the parental rights of an individual is supposed to be sacrosanct. These are our children. You know, in the sense that we gave birth to them, these are our kids. We should be able to tell them, so long it is not illegal or abusive, to be able to form their lives and how they're raised and determine their education. However, our current administration, I mean, how many times have we heard both President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris say, these are not your children. They are the nation's children. They are our children, as if, time out, you're not paying the bills, first of all, for their clothes, their shoes, their social media, their, you know, toys, things like that, but, and food. But at least to me, it's very, very concerning when I hear a president and vice president saying, these are all of our children. We're the ones who get to determine how they're raised, how they are educated, how they are not your kids. I mean, you're a mother. You went through the pains of labor to bring two beautiful lives into this world. And how do you feel when you hear our own president and vice president saying, these are not your kids? They don't belong to you. Go ahead.
Well, I have a strong opinion about that. I will say I thoroughly disagree with what they are saying, because just like you said, I don't remember them being in the labor and delivery room with me when I gave birth to my children. And I feel as though we are moving further and further away from what made America so great. And when I hear things like that, it's astounding to me, because I feel like we are moving outside of what makes America the greatest country in the world. And we are moving towards, this no, we were supposed to be a country built on freedoms, built on morals and principles and the rights of speech and freedom of speech and the ability to raise our children the way that we want to raise it. Listen, I have lived in a communistic country. Yeah, I see what really happens. I lived it. I lived in Europe as well, which is also another socialistic country. You are a number. You don't have a lot of rights. Okay. And most people that are making these decisions have never stepped abroad and lived in a system. And it is great fear that I stand up and say, we need to take back our country. We need to bring back the morals and values this country was built on.
And absolutely. And of course, you and I have had many discussions on this, and having not only my own family's experience in escaping communist Cuba and Fidel, and not once but twice being rounded up by the military and threatened with assassination, because that is what happens. I have friends that have escaped communist Poland. I still have friends that are escaping Venezuela. And I mean, this is not communism does not promote family wealth. It does not promote stability. You are rationed. You are limited. You are not able to speak out. And if you speak out against the government, guess what happens? Someone's going to rat on you. You're going to be picked up and you're going to be thrown in jail, be a political prisoner, or worse, assassinated. I'm not making light of it because it happens. And to me, to see that my mother's biggest fear may be coming true. My mother came to this nation and is so grateful and is probably one of the most patriotic women I've ever met. Her biggest fear is that we're going to have to escape this country because it's going to fall to a communist or socialist regime. And one of the first ways of getting control over our next generations is by separating children from their parents, by brainwashing them. And I understand purple politics, we're supposed to be open to all opinions, but this is an opinion and it's a valid fear. What are we raising our children to do and to be and how to think? Because the reality is very young, especially in elementary school, we are supposed to be instilling them the STEM education so that when they are older, they can compete on a global nation. You understood this. I mean, you've seen the education that Asian children receive. I mean, these are the kids that they're going to be competing with on the international stage for business and leadership.
Absolutely. I do have great fear because we've gotten so far into teaching our kids things that are not academics and that are so far outside of the realm of spectrum, trying to say we want to teach everyone to fit in, but you're doing the opposite. Really, you're doing the opposite. what you say you want, you're actually promoting and instilling the opposite into these kids. And we are falling further and further behind in our academics, in our education system, because we are focused on things that really don't matter in the real world. And we are instilling fear and confusion into our children. And so, yes, I have seen the academics in Asia and even in Europe. And I will say, there is a reason that they're appearing to be further and further ahead of us. And I do believe if we don't make some swift changes, there's a lot to be said. I mean, we are going to be less and less considered on a global level as kids get out of college. We also know that at university ages, our kids no longer can handle emotional things that come their way. I mean, we're talking on several different levels here. So I guess
well, you know what? You struck up on that. You mean the safe zones? Because God forbid if someone has an opposing opinion that they should listen to it and maybe learn from it. You know, back in my day at University of Florida, I got to stop saying back in my day, but you know, when I went to University of Florida, I mean, one of the things that we had to deal with because of the First Amendment right to free speech was that the Ku Klux Klan and the skinheads would hold a parade in Gainesville. Nobody enjoyed, I mean, at least my friends, we weren't like promoting and going, woohoo. It's not, you know, it was, they had a right to do a march, basically. That's their first right of amendment. Free speech is not meant to be, everything is nice and, you know, sugar and spice and everything nice. It's about having to tolerate and learn to tolerate opposing opinions, be able to learn and tolerate how to have meaningful discussions to promote what is for the better good, but also potentially learn how to diffuse situations. And that is something that I've also noted, and we may have to bring you back to discuss how, you know, safe zones are not promoting our children, especially in college. And Rachel, I want to thank you for being a guest, and it was so much fun for me to be able to discuss some of the things that are a little bit more probably polarizing in a sense. However, by being polarizing, by bringing these issues forward, this opens up the dialogue to saying, where can we find ground that or consensus? Because it is true, just like Nikki Haley said in the debates, leadership builds consensus. And what we need are leaders in our public schools, in our families, in our communities, and in our nation that will come forward and build a consensus and bring back what is most valuable. And that is the family values, our morals, and just decorum and diplomacy within our nation. And this is Alina Gonzalez-Dockery, and it's time to wrap up Purple Politics. I look forward to seeing all of you again next week from 4 to 5 on Friday. Thank you.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved. This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Tell me, are you looking to sell a house or buy a home? Hi, I'm Michelle Briggs, and your real estate needs are my priority. With over 2 decades worth of experience within the real estate industry, I know I can help. Whether you're selling a house and moving on to the next chapter or buying a home to create generational wealth for your family, I am the realtor for you. Call me now at 713-256-5465 and let me handle all of your real estate needs.
Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching Now Media Television.